Hello, this is Ray Hilborn. I'm a professor at the School of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences at the University of Washington, and I wanted to provide you some commentary on scientific aspects of the Netflix movie Seaspiracy. First, it's very clear this is not a documentary, but it's a propaganda film made by vegan activists. It makes no attempt to present the issues and provide any perspective. Indeed, it contains more lies than a Donald Trump press conference. There are some basic facts that I would say are universally accepted within the ocean science community. The first is, at the simplest level, a fishery is sustainable when it continues to produce food into the future at an undiminished rate. Many fisheries have been sustainably managed for thousands of years. They have ups and downs, but they still produce food for people. Fisheries are an important part of food security and employment for many of the poorest people of the world. It simply is not an option for those people to stop fishing. Fisheries are also a critical part of the culture for native peoples all around the world, and the call to stop eating fish is an insult to their culture. In many parts of the world, effective fisheries management is in place. This covers roughly half of the world's fisheries, including most developed countries, and in those places we know that fish stocks are increasing. The idea that the oceans are being emptied of fish simply is false. Stocks are certainly likely decreasing in some places, but we know they are increasing in many others. The great whales are generally increasing in abundance after having been driven to near extinction. There are fisheries for whales in many countries, including the United States, Norway, Japan, Faroe Islands, and Iceland. But these fisheries are well managed and pose no threat to the whale populations. Now, Seaspiracy does highlight issues that are of concern, particularly illegal fishing and human rights abuses. But these are regional issues. Illegal fishing is not a serious threat to sustainability in much of the world. It's quite specific where it's a problem. And human rights abuses are not widespread. Again, they tend to be reasonably local. Seaspiracy featured several prominent people who are known vegan activists, Sylvia Earle and George Monbiot in particular, and they never ask the question, if we don't eat fish, what are the environmental impacts of the other foods? Food production on land, which is what they suggest we should do, has great environmental costs, particularly land clearance to grow new crops. This is much more destructive to ecosystems than managing fishing in the ocean. Fishing is in fact one of the most environmentally friendly forms of food production because it can be sustainably done from a natural ecosystem. Any move away from the ocean to land-based foods, whether animal or vegetable, would require more intensive agriculture, which generally comes by clearing more land. And finally, vegan activists seem to believe that no animals die to produce their food. Anyone who has ever worked on a farm during harvest knows this is not true. My son farms 500 acres of crops, and he kills hundreds of sentient animals when he runs a combine through a field, chopping up rabbits, mice, birds, and on occasion, baby deer. If you want to minimize how many animals die to feed you, eat a few large animals, not a vegan diet. Now, if you want to minimize the impact of your diet on the global environment, and one of the people from rich countries likely to view Seaspiracy, my advice is simple. Eat less meat and waste less food. If you are concerned about the oceans, you can be very selective about what fish you eat. Those that are certified by the Marine Stewardship Council or on Monterey Bay Aquarium's Best Choice or Good Alternatives are almost certainly well managed and sustainable and usually have lower environmental impact than a vegetarian diet. Help support the move to improve fisheries management around the world. That's how we will reduce the impact of fishing.